Okay, we are live. Hello, hello. Happy, oh gosh, Wednesday. I literally need to have a day of the week calendar for every time I come on live so I can say the correct day. But happy Wednesday, ladies. I hope you guys are having an awesome day. Today we are going to be doing something a little bit different. So yesterday we did air fryer, tomorrow we're air fryer, but today we're going to do a little Caprese Quinoa. I don't know why. I just had mozzarella and tomatoes. My garden is growing so many delicious basil plants that I just really wanted to do something to kind of highlight those flavors as we're diving more into summer, and you all are going to have a ton of fresh tomatoes. So this is one of my go-to salads. It's super simple. It's high protein. It's got good healthy carbs. It's delicious the longer it sits in the fridge, so it's great to kind of prep for the week and just have to add to meals or to snack on. And yeah, so we'll go ahead and dive in. But for those of you who don't know me, I'm Kate Horning. I'm a chef and nutritionist. I'm the creator of A Healthy Passion. A Healthy Passion is a meal planning software. So for those of you guys who, when you joined the group, you said your biggest struggle was what to eat, how to eat to lose weight, how to carb cycle, meals your family's gonna love. You know, a lot of you guys list so many struggles that A Healthy Passion will help solve. So if you guys are not cooking with A Healthy Passion yet, definitely go check it out, ahealthypassion.com. Basically, when you sign up, you put in your height, your weight, your age, a little information on yourself, and the software will actually calculate how many calories you need per day, your macros that you need per day to reach your goals, and then it'll recommend recipes to fit those needs. So it's really cool if you are struggling with what to eat. And also, a lot of the recipes are designed for the whole family. So we have things like chicken tenders, sloppy joes, stuff like that is really, mac and cheese, that's great for the whole family, but will still allow you to stay on track and reach your weight loss goals. So it's super amazing. Definitely check it out, ahealthypassion.com. Okay, so for today's recipe, I'll show you guys what you all need. Turn this around. The first thing that you're gonna want is some quinoa. So I've taken this quinoa, and I did a blog post on this. I'll have to share in the group, but it's on how to make perfectly fluffy quinoa, because I feel like that's one thing people screw up a lot, and it really isn't that difficult. So with quinoa, I actually like to cook mine in a rice cooker, and I'll show you guys. I have just a little tiny rice cooker. This thing was like 20 bucks on Amazon. It's amazing. It's great because if you're like me, you're really busy and you start doing something and then you get distracted. So I love the rice cooker because it allows me to cook my grains, and then they just sit and wait on me. So I'll throw something in when I have a few minutes. If I come back 3 hours later, it's cooked and warm and perfect. So I do mine in the rice cooker, 1/2 cup of quinoa. And remember, A Healthy Passion, all of our recipes serve 2, so this is for 2 servings. It's 1/2 cup quinoa, 1 cup of water, hey Annette, and 1/2 of a veggie stock cube. And I just find that veggie stock really allows to flavor the quinoa, where quinoa kind of tastes meh by itself. So I just put that in there. Hey Lindsay. I set for the rice cooker, you want to use the white rice settings. There's like a white and a brown rice, so I use the white rice setting, and it takes about 20 minutes. And again, it's ready whenever I am. If you're doing it on the stovetop, you'll use 1 1/4 cups of water and 1/2 cup quinoa. Bring it to a boil, reduce it to a simmer, keep it covered, and then turn the heat off after about 15 minutes and just let it sit for 5 to sort of absorb all of that extra liquid. So quinoa is cooked. You want your quinoa to cool because you don't want it to melt your cheese. So I'll do this in advance, and then what I do is I take the lid off my rice cooker, just let it sit, and then when I'm ready to prepare the salad, I just throw it in a bowl to let it kind of finish cooling down. You can see it's still a little bit steamy just because I was, of course, last minute doing everything and rushed, but it still will work perfectly. So that is your first ingredient, and I can link my rice cooker. I bought it like 2 or 3 years ago, so I'll have to look it up, but I can link it for you all if you want to invest in one. Honestly, I have so many kitchen tools, and it's the one I probably use every single day. So it's a good one, and it keeps everything so much easier versus putting it on the stovetop and then forgetting about it and then burning it or overcooking it or whatever. The next ingredient, tomatoes. So these aren't from my garden yet, but I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks I'll have local tomatoes from my garden. Makes a big difference here, but cherry tomatoes will also work if you get them at the grocery store, farmer's market, wherever. The next ingredient is fresh basil. So from my garden. Hey Brittany, if you'd like this recipe, we're doing Caprese Quinoa. Fresh basil, if you can get it again from a plant, I always recommend if you are going to the grocery store, buy a plant versus buying it already cut off. It'll last longer. You can kind of pluck from the plant, and it honestly tastes so much better. So, and it's about the same price. So fresh basil, mozzarella cheese, so good. Just fresh mozzarella. You can use little balls if you have them. And then white beans. So the combination of quinoa and white beans is going to really bump up the protein and the fiber in this recipe, and I just love the creaminess of white beans. Again, they don't have a ton of flavor on their own, so they're really easy to sort of dress up and make what you want. And that is it. So this is a really simple, more of an assembly than cooking kind of recipe, especially if you do your quinoa ahead of time in the rice cooker. It's just a matter of like throwing everything together at that point. So I'm going to drain my white beans and rinse them off. And I always drain and rinse my beans. Well, not always. There's a few recipes in Healthy Passion that we don't. But for the most part, I like to drain them and rinse them just to get that kind of film off of them, get that liquid off of them, get rid of any extra sodium because I'd rather add my own salt. So you just want to drain them and then toss them in with the quinoa and give it a toss. And then we're going to take the cherry tomatoes. And this would be a great salad if you're entertaining, like for 4th of July, to prep up in advance and just serve with whatever else you're having that day. So maybe you're doing some barbecue food or something like that. You know, it would be great to kind of make this one in advance and just kind of serve it as a side dish. So it could be a vegetarian main, or you could always add some chicken to it, or shrimp or pork or steak or whatever kind of vegetables you like. I mean, not vegetables, whatever kind of meat you like, and make it kind of a side dish. So then we're just going to quarter the cherry tomatoes. So I like the texture of the white beans and the cherry tomatoes kind of the same size. So for me, I like to quarter them. These are also kind of big. If you're using smaller cherry tomatoes, you could just have them. But I'm going to give them a little, I'm going to put that there, that way you all can see it. Give them a little kind of lengthwise and then widthwise and toss them in. And this is about half of a container of cherry tomatoes. So I think this is 16 ounces total, so maybe 8 ounces of cherry tomatoes. And the colors are just so pretty. I don't know about you all, but once summertime hits and I have tomatoes, like everything is caprese. It's tomatoes and mozzarella and balsamic. And if you guys are Healthy Passion subscribers, there are so many caprese recipes in there. We've got like a caprese stuffed mushroom that's phenomenal. We have a caprese chicken with a balsamic reduction that's so tasty. It has like a white bean salad that goes with it. We have so many different combinations, so definitely check it out. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you could roast your tomatoes, Brittany. What I would do is I would, like if you're doing cherry tomatoes, I would have them and then roast them and kind of just squeeze out the seeds. That way you don't get like too much water. You don't like raw tomatoes? What? Yeah, you could totally roast them. Or you could do sun-dried tomatoes in here. Just kind of use a little bit less. And those would be delicious as well. Oh my goodness, raw tomatoes. Like literally my favorite thing in the summertime is homemade mayonnaise or like a high quality mayonnaise, high quality bread, and then a raw tomato. It's just like a little tomato sandwich. But I look so forward to when I'm picking tomatoes in the garden, and that's literally what I eat for dinner, like at least 2 days a week in the summer. Okay, so tomatoes go in. Next thing is mozzarella. If you're using the mozzarella balls, you could just do like half or quarter them, depending on how big. I'm using the little like pre-cut slices. We just had it left over, so I'm just going to cube it up, but it's about 2 ounces of mozzarella. That's going to add the pretty white color and a nice kind of hearty flavor to it. Then the basil. So I'm going to use about the amount that you'd find in one of those containers, like the 0.75 ounce containers of basil. So again, if you're buying it at the store, that's what you'll look for. If you're doing it at home, it's going to be about a 1/4 cup of thinly sliced basil. So a lot of basil, because again, this is a caprese, so we want all that goodness in there. Okay, so that is what it's going to look like for now. I'm going to go ahead and season it up with a good amount of salt, because keep in mind, tomatoes don't have a lot of flavor on their own. Mozzarella is pretty bland, white beans are pretty bland, so you really want to season up the dish nicely. That's all going to get tossed together, and then we're going to make our dressing. And I mean, look at that already. Like, so pretty. The colors are just beautiful. And it gets better as it sits. Like, the longer it sits, the better it gets kind of thing. So I would do this in advance, throw it in the fridge. And if you're serving it with dinner and you want it to be, like, not cold, you could bring it out about an hour before dinner. Hey, Gina. And serve it at room temperature, or you could just eat it right out of the fridge. We're cooking quinoa. I think you'd like this dish. Okay, so that all gets tossed together. I'm going to set it aside. Now we're going to make the dressing. So for this one, I'm going to use, let me grab the Dijon. So I've got Dijon mustard. And I like to use some sort of emulsifier for most of my dressings. I just find it makes a nice creamy texture. You could skip the Dijon if you don't have it. Hey, Lisa. But I'm just using like a stone ground organic mustard. And then we're going to go equal parts of olive oil and balsamic. So about 1.5 tablespoons of each. And then I'm going to grab my little whisk and just whisk it all up. typically when I do quinoa salads, I like to do the dressing on the hot quinoa, but in this case, since we let the quinoa cool, we're just gonna add it at the end. So if you're doing like a quinoa salad where you're serving your quinoa warm, I always dress it warm. Or like the quinoa kale salad recipe in A Healthy Passion, I like to dress that quinoa warm because it really kind of infuses into the quinoa. But in this case, we wanted to let our quinoa cool, so we'll just throw the dressing on last. And then all you do from here is just give it a toss. Just making sure you guys can see it and looking at the wrong thing. And the thing I love about this as well is that balsamic's going to kind of add that acidity to it and really kind of add a little bit of sweetness to the tomatoes, and then the olive oil adds that nice silky mouthfeel, the yummy fat, and it gets a little bit kind of balsamic colored, but it's not too dark, so it's really pretty again with all the different colors. So there you all have it. I'm going to flip this around and give you all an overhead shot. Just so you can see how truly beautiful this is. Also yesterday, I didn't have time to post. I had stuff pop up yesterday. Hey, Becky. But I cooked the chicken in the air fryer for 8 minutes and it was perfectly cooked, and then I let it rest for 5. So for those who are asking, I will get a picture of the air fryer chicken up here in a little bit as well, but it turned out amazing. So there y'all go. This recipe and the one we did yesterday and the one we're doing tomorrow will all be in A Healthy Passion on Monday, so stay tuned for that. And tomorrow at 1 p.m. I'm doing air fryer salmon. So if you guys are free, come join me. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope you have an awesome, awesome day. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you all tomorrow.